All right, welcome back to the Ascended Podcast, everyone. Thank you guys for being patient with us as we come back and produce yet again another episode. I know it's been a week and things have been kind of all over the place recently, but it's thrilling to have more of a rhythm built back in. Anthony, I know, was it last week that we talked about kind of how long it had been? How do you feel kind of coming back into this swing?
Yeah, it'd been a while since last week, but honestly, I'm feeling great. I even had some family visit over this last weekend, so a little bit extra on top of the break, right? But that's not to say we haven't been working super hard in between. It's just that we've been posting things out a little less frequently in the past. But I love to see and to make content created by us, put out there to kind of act as, just one of a few ways that we get you guys to see what it is we've been working on. So to me, it means a lot, and I'm excited to be back for sure.
Yeah, awesome to hear. And I hope you guys have found success too in this, few months here where we've been kind of on and off. I'm excited to hear your stories too. If you guys are working on something, feel free to drop it in the comments. Better yet, join the ALTURA Society. The link's going to be down below. And you'll probably hear us talking about it a few times during this episode because, of course, it's free and it's probably the best resource if you're building anything like we've been to take advantage of if you're trying to put your life in a better position, have some few extra resources in your pocket to help out. So, on that topic and on tonight's episode in general, I think it's important to kind of lead with where has building things in general gone, right? So, let's start with this. 2 years ago, right? If you guys wanted to build some sort of software product, you needed a co-founder, right, who could code, who actually had development experience. You needed probably 6 months and at least maybe 10 grand, right? Today, we're able to build working apps, and we are building a working app that we're updating, as you guys just heard, by typing what I wanted in English. And again, a lot of Altura, as complex as it may seem, has been built through vibe coding. So this isn't crazy stuff we're talking about, right? And so did 400,000 people trying to work on the same thing today as well.
Yeah, it's not hard much anymore, right? I guess you could call it a problem, you could call it not a problem, but nobody is talking about that outside of the space itself. You know what I mean? I guess a lot of people still kind of assume that it takes thousands of hours and dollars to get something like an app or a website up and running. But realistically, with the age of AI, it's kind of accessible to anybody and everybody. And it's not being kind of covered, I guess, like it probably should, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And building used to be the moat. Anthony, do you know what the term moat means in this industry?
Yeah, it's like what you're offering.
Yeah, I mean, think of literally like a moat around a castle. It's like the one thing that makes or breaks you getting to your destination, right? Like that's kind of how I picture it. It's like you get the alligators in a moat protecting a castle. It's like if you can get to the other side of this moat, the moat is typically now used as like, what do we sell that's our best feature? But most of the time it means what's the hardest thing that differentiates you that somebody can't replicate easily, right? And it's kind of like your best feature of your product that is hard to compete against for other people. And what did you do that really makes you stand out? So, building, when I say it used to be the moat, I mean literally like if you had to be able to write a coding language to develop an app. And now in 2026, building is pretty much free to get started, right? And it means the hard part, the only part that still remains hard, is moving somewhere else, right? And most builders are still grinding on the one thing that I would say, which I haven't named yet, stopped mattering. And you guys could probably guess what that might be.
Yeah. So I think on top of that too, we'll kind of discuss later in the podcast a little bit about where the money actually is now. If that's the question, I know that's what I would be thinking if I was just viewing this, right? If the money and the time is spent rather in development, where's it at now? So we'll talk about that. Not where it was, where it is now. In 2026, halfway through the year, just past halfway through the year, actually. If you've built something and nobody's paying for it, and you're asking yourself that question I just mentioned, this episode is we're going to cover what's the reason for that is in this episode. So it's going to be perfect for you.
Yeah, let's get into it, guys. Let's get into this discussion.
Yeah. So I'll start the
Where do you want
discussion.
to
We'll
start?
say,
Yeah.
we'll set the stage, right? So I guess what actually changed? How did this change come about from going to where you needed thousands of dollars and time, developers that people that knew how to code into, what we are seeing today in the industry?
Yeah. And if you guys have watched the episodes the last couple weeks as we started this series, right? Differentiating around what Altura really is. It's for the builders, right? It's the vibe coders. We talked about vibe coding as a definition, which means, building a software by describing it basically to an AI instead of writing code. Kind of went from like a niche thing, like a small, indie hackers type group, to the dominant way that people actually ship and create businesses, especially like younger generation, our generation, in about 18 months already. Quick transformation. It's the number one tech startup trend of the entire year, and it's not close. And we talked about too on the past podcast how it's expected to probably triple within 5 years. And you got tools, right, like Lovable, Cursor, Claude. You describe the outcome, and the AI writes the product for you.
Yeah. So essentially taking like the barrier to making something unique just down to zero, kind of getting rid of whatever, blocks in the pathway there was to getting anybody who wanted to be able to develop something unique.
100%. Yeah, to zero. And here's the mental model I want you guys to hold of this. For 20 years, the bottleneck in software was production. This is generational, right? Like, we're changing the game with this because, could you actually build the app? Did you have the technical capabilities? Was the number one question that, venture capitalist was going to ask, right? That bottleneck is gone. And so when a bottleneck disappears, a bottleneck, again, more terms thrown out in front of you. If you're new to business, it means the pinch point of the bottle, right? It's like what stops you from otherwise pouring out more water? What stops you from having increased production, right? What's the limiting factor here? And again, like I said, when a bottleneck disappears, all of the value rushes forward. All the water starts pouring out into the next limitation, the next bottleneck that's restricting things downstream.
Yeah. So I guess that begs the question then, right? If the bottleneck used to be production, what's the next bottleneck going to be?
And again, I said previously, right? Take a guess at what it is. And I'm giving you the answer now. It's getting anyone really in the entire world, especially on social media too, to know you exist. Distribution, right? And attention. More importantly, trust. That's so hard to build on social media these days. And that's the stuff that doesn't come out of a simple code editor or Claude.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think what I'd like to add to that too is I kind of want to put a number on the flood, right? Because people sort of underestimate it when we're talking about this. Basically, when anyone can build an app in a weekend, the number of apps doesn't go up 10%. It's actually going up like 100x. It's going up exponentially as people start catching
Yeah.
on to its use cases, right? So you're not really competing with the three other tools that used to exist in your category as you might have been previously to AI taking over the coding space. You're at this point competing with 3,000. And the thing is too, like most of them look exactly like yours because they were all vibe coded from the same prompt and from the same tools that are trained to
Yeah.
think the exact same way.
And that is really the honest part here, right? That AI it made it so easy for you to or for everyone, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just your build isn't the differentiator anymore, and that's the problem too. Is like you can almost tell now when a site is made through AI because it's like copying, pasting the same fonts, the same lettering, the same kind of outputs, right? Because at the end of the day, it's an algorithm that predicts the best next sequence, so it's going to replicate what works, right? And building and making a beautiful site necessarily probably isn't going to be what makes you different. Like it used to be, right? Where you have Apple and all these like crazy aesthetic layouts and stuff. The other guy can type a sentence into the same tool and get the same output. So, yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then I mean, I'm sure everybody watching is wondering, like, what hope left is there for you to differentiate yourself? Like, what exactly would be the next best differentiator if it's not the actual build anymore?
And this is where we get excited, right, Anthony? Like this is where Altura really starts to shine because whether people can find you is always going to be important, right? Like marketing will always matter. Marketing is always an essential part of business. More importantly, whether somebody finds you and then they actually believe you, right? Is this like some guy in his mom's basement, putting this service together with Claude? Or is it an actual business that's operating with rules and with standards and with legal protections and things like that too? Like that's the whole game now, right? And it's uncomfortable for people like us. We're builders. We like the part where you close the laptop and publish it and make it a thing, right? The part where you go out and start selling that to people, it kind of feels gross, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
really a
Well,
big, I didn't work at Subway necessarily. I was kind of in the back in high school, dishwashing and stuff. I was never like the customer servicey guy. So having the face-to-face sales thing just feels like unnecessary when you have Google ads and, Meta ads and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, right? if you don't do that at some point, if you don't go through that step, you're probably not going to get where you want to be. So most of the time we avoid it by just building more. And that instinct nowadays, especially with all the tools, becomes a trap because you want to keep making it better and stop focusing on getting it out.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that. The tendency to not really want to get out there and be that kind of sales rep, right? But I love that you're kind of insinuating that it's a trap for builders these days
Yeah.
to keep that same mindset. But I'm going to keep using this term when I say the flood. And by that, I just mean the influx in people that are able to use AI to vibe code, if you will, their own project, right?
Yeah.
And so with that said, if we're talking about the flood from the buyer side, I think that's also a perspective that's worth considering, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
most
Go to that
builders never
side.
do. Yeah.
100%. Cover that.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just think about it, right? If you're somebody who wants to buy an AI tool right now, you're essentially drowning in options. They're everywhere and they all kind of look the same. Every feed is, I built this in 24 hours. Directories that you're looking at have 10,000 entries. Half the demos from things you're looking at or being displayed are fake, just created with AI straight up, or don't really work that well. So buyers kind of have gotten ruthless, right, in this market. They don't evaluate features anymore as much as they might have previously when the features were what everybody spent the most time and money developing to be competitive. They can't. There's just too many. And it's not very hard for people to add features because AI does it for you, literally just by talking to it. So at this point, they're kind of evaluating what we're going to call signal, I would say. Who vouched for this? Who's already using it? Does this person even like feel or seem real when I'm looking at their content or at their tool?
Yeah.
Is there some sort of track record? Basically, like for the younger generation, they're basing it off vibes at this point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what's ringing in my head is like the crypto space. You used to see us a lot with crypto, right? Like
Yeah.
everything became like a pump and dump, everything became a meme coin. So it really started to matter who was developing these projects. And more importantly, were they doxed, I think is what they call them. Like, have they shown their face, right? Are they backed by credible investors? Is there actually marketing getting put into this thing, or are they just trying to get you to buy it? Like, this is starting to spread into, the bigger field of like AI technology too now. And so trust is what it sounds like what you're saying becomes the currency that you really need to be winning people over.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Trust became the next currency. In a world where everyone can kind of fake a landing page, use AI to make a new shiny looking demo video, the only thing that's expensive, really the only thing you can't vibe code is a real reputation, a name for yourself, and real proof that someone paid you and was happy with the service or product that you offered them. That's what's going to count from now on.
That's so fired. I love that because this is the thing that I wish I would have understood like 2 years ago, guys. Like I abandoned 6 products probably in about 2 years, and every single one when it got hard, and Anthony knows too, right? Kind of do the same thing. You open the editor and you build a new feature instead of going and talking to one human, being about the last one, right? Like so you get 6 launches. There's, near zero compounding because of that, because you just keep hitting the brakes. Because I kept restarting the building clock and never once started the distribution clock, which I would say just now we're finally starting to do because you're watching this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And, for a long time, I know both of our personality types would kind of take it to be some sort of a discipline problem that
Yeah.
we just weren't self disciplined enough to kind of stick to one thing. But I think at this point, upon reflection, I don't know that it's necessarily a discipline problem, really. I think it's that building gives you a dopamine hit and a sense of control. And distribution kind of gives you rejection and silence in practice, right? You're building something that makes you feel like you're accomplishing when in reality the majority of your time is spent building something that nobody's ever going to see because the minority of your time is spent showing it to people. So of course people got kind of retreated into that safety, that hole where they felt safe of just building all the time.
Yeah.
But the market at this point is completely inverted on that behavior. In 2026, a person who builds a mediocre thing and then tells 500 people about it, something that's may not be the best, but it's functional, that definitely beats out the person who builds something that's absolutely perfect, spent the same amount of time on, but just purely on development and then doesn't have any time to tell anybody about it. And I think that that's the case every time. Every time that there's an option between someone that spent all their time, it's just what do you call it, the Pareto rule? I don't know, where you spend a certain amount of time doing the
Eighty
things that.
twenty.
Say that again?
The 80/20, yeah, Pareto
Yeah, yeah, the
principle.
80-20 point, right? So there's gotta be a balance between, like, the time you spend putting it in front of somebody's face or testing it or at least asking people what they think of your thing, which is the hard part, and as compared to just kinda chasing that next shiny object of, what's gonna look nice on your platform.
It's like kind of I like comparing it to like the dating market, right? Like guys will go say, "I'm not buff enough yet to go talk to a woman." Where if they would have just like walked up to 5 women, I'm gonna call my bad. We'll just if a guy walks up to 5 women in a bar, right, and talks to them, he might get one of their numbers, right? Like, but instead he's like, no, I'm like, I need to go work out 6 more weeks before I even start. And then eventually, those skills, those social skills, kind of like distribution skills, right, of marketing, in this case, like flirting or whatever it is, that compounds over time. You get more confident because you know how to market something better. It could be marketing yourself in that case, but you learn that it's more important that you get up to bat and you take a swing than just than just never picking up the bat to begin with. And I think that people are kind of ready, right? There's more uncomfortable truth here that we're getting at, and I think you probably know what that is. So why don't you
Yeah, I
tell
mean,
them?
relating what you just said, right, back to the topic of discussion for tonight. I mean, your product is probably good enough to get somebody to use it and check it out. It's probably good enough already without you spending the next month or 2 adding on features, development, aesthetically pleasing it, aesthetically working on how it looks to people. It's been good enough for months, in all honesty, probably. You don't necessarily have a product problem if you're an average person using, AI to vibe code to create your own tool and that's how you want to make money for yourself. It's not necessarily about your product anymore. They're all kind of the same in reality. That's hard to hear, right? But they're all kind of the same. You have a nobody knows and nobody trusts you yet problem is really what the root cause of this is, where you're not making the money that you thought you would for all the time that you've put into it. And you keep solving the product problem because it's the only one that you know how to solve or that you feel comfortable solving. I think that's really the root of the issue here.
Yeah, wow. Well said. Yeah, guys, you need to. You're really good at solving one problem, but one problem in this case isn't the full equation. You got to break it down and take care of the other part. And it's not like you have to start over your entire entrepreneurial career, right? You just need people like us, right? And we're not charging you for it either, that are in a space or just belonging to a space where you eventually start figuring out those skills. And that's a great transition too. I think we need to get more like concrete here because this is the part I think people actually came for with this podcast. So if building is free and distribution is the moat, right, that matters, then how are builders that are listening to this or just in Altura already, how are they making money in 2026? Can you give me like some of the real models?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like you said, this is probably where the people want to come. This is the concrete stuff that people want to hear about.
Flip farm moment,
So
yeah.
putting it out there, model one, I would say, is productized services. So not like here's a tool, figure it out kind of thing, which is the approach many people are taking, the approach you and I have taken a few times.
Yeah.
It's really I'll do the outcome for you. Here's the price and here's the turnaround. And if you're paying attention, you can see a difference between those two. AI makes a delivery cheap. So your margin is huge and buyers then pay for the outcome, not necessarily the software. And that's where builders get confused, right? The builders quietly making the real money aren't selling apps, they're selling done for you results. That's what it's always been in the history of like business, right? It's always you got to attack a pain point. The people don't want you to sell them, you know, this tool that's awesome and cool, but it's not the tool they're buying. It's the outcome of the tool of using the tool rather. And so they're selling done for you results that the app happens to power is what you're actually selling.
Yeah. And this, guys, if you please rewatch that or rewatch this clip if you're seeing this on short form or something, but that is the best thing you can do. Stop making it about like buy this AI tool, make it about the outcome, right? Like again, we're working on Nova, which is the planning assistant, right? The executive planning tool and stuff. So focus on like have your day organized, right? How much would it cost for an executive assistant? You're basically saying you can go market instead of marketing AI plans your calendar, market executive assistant service takes care of your, world 24/7, right? And keeps you on track with your goals. Now, they might know AI is powering it, but that really doesn't matter. You sell the outcome and you say, "Hey, an executive assistant would charge you 2 to 5 grand a month to manage your calendar. What if we charge you 200 bucks a month and we do it way quicker?" Right? So you're not leading with the fact that it's AI because everyone is. You're leading with this is what you get out of it. This is what it's worth. But again, Nova actually is way cheaper than that. But I'm just using it as an example to say the reason you're not making money is because you're comparing it to other AI tools, which is a tight margin game. You're not comparing it to what they normally spend, which is where they actually realize where the savings are. So great point on that too. And you always got to lead back with, why are they using this in the first place? They want to problem solve, and you got to start there. Model two, right? And I'll take this one. I think this is probably where we're going at too. Like I believe in this one, I'd say even more. Storefronts, not just projects, right? Like stop launching like these standalone products that live and die, whether they have their own traffic or not, right? Like put what you built where buyers already are, a place with an audience, right? A marketplace, a community, right? So you inherit distribution instead of manufacturing it from scratch every time. This is the equivalent of like trying to start a YouTube and you build it up to maybe 50,000 followers and then you decide to start a new YouTube channel to start a new business. Why wouldn't you just leverage what you already have or a
Yeah.
community that's already built up to distribute your stuff, right? The difference between I launched an app and I listed my thing in a place where 1,000 buyers already shop and I don't have to pay for it is the difference between silence and money in your bank account. And that's the problem we're all trying to solve with AI right
Yeah. Yeah. That's super well said. I have nothing to add on top of that. So the third one would be that builders need to realize that the audience is the asset. The audience is the asset. So what I mean by that is that some builders make more from the audience that they built while building than from any single product. I mean, you can think of like YouTubers, for example. Iman Gadji, however you say his last name. Pick your favorite YouTuber, it doesn't even matter who it is. They're probably making more money off of the content that they create by having, people come in to watch what it is they do during the journey of building whatever it is they're building. And they're filming themselves doing it and posting it for your enjoyment, right? And it's just the same kind of concept here. They build in public, the audience compounds, people tell other people, those people tell other people, and then every launch has a warm list already. So now anything that you put out already has a list of people that like you and are following you because you inspired them with your story of the journey. And the product is almost kind of incidental at that point. The relationship between the people that you've accumulated as followers, the audience, like I said in the beginning, is the real business. It doesn't even become about the product at that point anymore.
Yeah, and notice what all three of these things that we've said have in common, guys. Like none of them are about the code. Productized services, right? Distribution and delivery. Storefronts, right? Borrow distribution from other people, right? Audience, which is an own distribution, is all distribution. The money is downstream of not how cool your product is, but whether your product is known. And in that happens in every single case that people win. Like we just
Yeah.
referenced a few examples.
Yeah, in every single case of all three that we talked about. So, if I had to reframe your mind to think about you and what it is you do in a different way than you currently do, here's what I would say. I would say the reframe is you need to think of yourself not as a developer anymore because that job kind of got automated. You're more of an operator now in a sense. So, and maybe that sounds cheesy, right? But stick with me. If this sounds like you or what you should be doing based on what we talked about so far, it should be that you think of yourself as someone who packages a result, gets it in front of the right people, and then earns their trust so they keep coming back. And the building is table stakes, right? The operating is the actual job at that point. That's what you need to reframe yourself to think about.
I love that term operator too. Like my dad worked at a filtration manufacturer. They made filters for like McDonald's fry filters or like pool filters and stuff, right? But his job, he was the machine operator, the machine tender. He controlled like how thick the paper was that they were like molding for the filters. So like he had these tiny microscopic margins that he would control operating the machine. To determine like how thick to make the filter, which then determines if the filter really works or not at the end of the day. So like what I'm saying here is my dad wasn't the one like taking an air dryer and blowing the filter. He wasn't making the filter. In this case, right? The metaphor I'm making is you're not smarter than AI. I'm not smarter than AI too. But AI needs somebody to operate it to get the result better than somebody else. AI will solve all of these problems that anybody has around the world if the right person knows how to operate it and they have people that care that they know how to operate. That's the business we're solving here. It's not you reinventing AI or creating a better product than Claude or ChatGPT. We're probably not going to do that very easily. But if you know how to operate it and you know what questions to ask, and you're around a community of people that have this down, like us, for free, there's nothing stopping you than just asking questions to the people operating it. And that's the community you need to be in, not just you and Claude or ChatGPT, but you and the other operators. And that's the genuinely good news, right? By the way, if you let it be.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd like for you to explain that a little bit more. I think there's more to be said about that, but yeah.
Yeah, because in this case, the thing that's more valuable is now showing up, like being real and building trust with a specific group of operators or people, right? That can't be copied by the next guy with the same prompt. They don't know what to do next because they might guess the next prompt that's like building the same thing you're building, but they're not going to know why they're doing it, right? And they don't know what the process looks like. They can't use AI to coach them on how to use AI, or they're not going to get where they want to go, right? Your build can, right? Your reputation, your group, your community can. And so for the first time, the durable advantage is actually the human part and not the technical AI part. So you and who you let in your space to help become the moat.
Yeah, I mean, just think about this logically, right? Doesn't that make sense that in a world where we're kind of shifting, not we as people, but kind of we as people, enterprises, industries, and us as consumers are kind of shifting from being connected via face to face human connection. I mean, it started with social media, right? Instead of talking to people, you send them a text, you send them a Snapchat, a DM. You stay in touch with people not by calling anymore, but by posting on social media. But now we're switching into where we're actually even taking jobs and replacing them with automations in a world where it's so rare to be in a position where most of your communication is done face to face, orally, or even just over the phone, voice to voice. Doesn't it make sense that people kind of, in a business sense, are going to revert more towards preferring the human connection, the part that makes you you? And the trust that's developed by seeing that other people are also using your thing and have vetted what it is you do as a good quality product. And you, as a founder, as an owner, a builder, as a person of character, right? That they can actually trust what it is you built and not feel like you're just another person who's created another app, and just put it out in the app store real sloppily. And it does the same thing as 50,000 other apps because it's free and available for use for everybody. So, yeah, I love that. But let's go ahead and make it tactical, right? This is all kind of just
Yeah,
talking
we
like broad
have to.
level.
Yeah.
Let's talk tactical. Like if you've heard this and it moved you in some way, resonates with you, something you can do today. If you've built something and and nobody's buying it, you don't really have a way for people to see it. What is it that Caleb you recommend that this person does this week?
Well, I know we have these written down, so we'll go back and forth. But I'll start with number one. Okay, so first, talk to 5 different buyers is what we wrote down before you build one more feature. And I know it seems like I'm just wasting my time. What are these people going to know about my stuff, right? Like you're not pitching them, right? Just to understand, and because humans are going to be buying your stuff, so they should be consulting you on your stuff too, right? 5 real conversations that will teach you more than just 5 features, because somebody actually has to use those features at the end of the day. And AI is going to build a feature in a way that AI thinks is optimal for a human, but AI isn't perfect yet, right? It's getting better every day, but it's not the same as a human being who has feelings about this platform and the user interface and stuff. So you have to take a quick break and just join Altura and send it in the chat. Hey guys, could you check this link and let me know what your thoughts are about my project? That's it.
Yeah, I like that. Sweet. So, I mean, really, like 5 real conversations. One that's not that difficult to do. I mean, it's difficult initially, maybe the first one, but it'll teach you more than 5,
You got
features
to
you built.
sell anyway, so get out there and start talking to people. Like, build the skills. There's
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
ask here, too, either.
Absolutely. So, like you said, we have it written down here. Number 2, which I'll share, is your next step after that would be to pick one channel and one message and repeat it until you're sick of it. So, what I mean by that is that the mistake that you're making probably constantly is scattering a little bit of everything at once. Distribution compounds only when you're consistent enough to be recognized. So, your next step would be, as much as you can manage it, and as tempting as it might be to not, try to stay in the same lane, keeping the same promise, and just continuously do that over and over, no matter how boring it might seem. The consistency is what's going to get you to the other side that you're working for. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily the addition of extra things. It's the consistency of the same thing that you know works.
By definition, too, right? Like, to compound something, what does it have to compound over? Like, what is the measurement that you're compounding? Like, it has to be time, right? So, but otherwise, you're not compounding. You're just adding or something like that, right? It's not actually multiplying unless there's a duration of time to measure its growth, right? So you have to put the time in. And if you put the time in, you don't know whether your curve is going to immediately go up like this or it's going to go really slow and then break at the last second. But every day that you continue to post, continue to put yourself out there, especially in Altura, where you're getting seen for free, where you're just giving yourself another at bat, it's almost guaranteed you're going to get closer to where that curve is going to lift off the ground and go God knows where, probably to the moon. Right. So Just think about that and be consistent. That's why we're trying to get back on the podcast here too. We're doing the same things as we're talking about. We're not hypocrites here. So follow our story if you want to see that we're not just talking, we're actually doing this stuff too. And third, right? Put your thing where buyers already are. A community, a marketplace, a directory with real traffic. I would hate to see you take 100 Instagram followers and beat them dead until you get 105. Just partner with channels like Reddit, maybe, or Discord, or WAP, or Altura, as we could say a million times over, that already have people that care, and then use those as free mechanisms to grow, right? Even if you can't pay to show even more people, there's still more people on Reddit, for instance, than there would be in your 100 Instagram followers that only followed you because you went to high school with them, right? So don't build a storefront on an empty street, right? That'd be a terrible business move, but that's what most of us are doing. Borrow the foot traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Borrow the foot traffic. That's well said. I'm going to go ahead and go on to number 4, which is you need to manufacture proof from that point. So what I mean by that is you need to get your first testimonial. The first, here's what I made someone. And as the first public results to kind of build a foundation of trust for the next person to come and the next and the next and the next, let it compound from there. In a world of fake demos, one real specific verifiable outcome is worth far more than any amount of time you spend in the next month adding features to your tool. You just need someone, after the things we've already mentioned, to come in, try it, and say, this verifiably, I made this and this person used it, and this is what they had to benefit from using it. And that'll do you a lot more than just continuously adding features, like I said.
Yeah, the word I liked about that is verifiable. If you have a means to verify the result and somebody else can verify it too is legitimate instead of you just saying, like an app store review, right? You don't know if your cousin just clicked 5 stars and then it's rated higher, right? Like, but if on Altura, right? I hate going back to it a million times, but I'm trying to show you guys we've thought all these things through with our platform. If somebody buys your service or you buy somebody else's service and you rate that, it is attached to your profile. Somebody knows exactly who the person was that rated it, and more importantly, there's nowhere to fake it, right? Because you can only review if you've actually transacted or done business with that person. So you need the credibility there ahead of time, and therefore reviews matter. And it matters that you do business properly. So we're encouraging this positive climate of people that have trust because you have to really. Otherwise, you're not going to look good. And we all care about building connections that last too. So that's why we set it up that way. I just want to be clear about that. And then 5, right? Our final point, and this is kind of the meta one, right? A little abstract. Measure it. So views, signups, right? Conversations, sales. If you're not scoreboarding your distribution, then you'll drift back into the loop of building and wasting more money on credits, on tools, whatever it is, because building at least feels like progress, but it isn't. What gets measured gets defended, right? And you find a way to solve that problem. Get addicted to that problem, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And what you can kind of notice about all 5 of these is that none of them really require you to be any type of extrovert or even a, personal brand kind of person. I know I'm not, right? It requires you more to just be consistent with real rather, with a specific group of people. People that you know are already going to be susceptible to what it is you have to offer, and just stay consistent. Just that's it. Builders can absolutely do this. You don't have to be an extrovert, like I mentioned. You don't have to spend a bunch of time making content for your personal brand. You just have to decide that the distribution clock matters as much as the build clock did for when you're, originally putting your time into building that. You got to kind of switch that mindset. It's not necessarily all about adding more, or doing more. It's got to be about getting it in front of initially anybody, but more people.
Yeah. Again, like they say, thoughts lead to, your mindset. Mindset leads to your actions, leads to outcomes, all that stuff, right? So, like, just change your mindset to most of your problems are like, what could I build that's going to win people over? I think that too a lot of times. But the better thing is like, what will get me in front of more people, right? And then it doesn't matter what you build, like, because you're going to need that skill whether you sell your business and go into real estate or you go close up shop and go work at McDonald's. You're going to have to sell something to somebody, right? So like that sales skill is the most applicable skill you'll ever have. And you need to start thinking from that mindset of like, why do they want what they want? And how can I get in front of people that want what I want? Both of those questions too. So again, here's why we care about this and why we built Altura because of it, right? Everything we just described, getting your thing in front of buyers, inheriting distribution from other people like us instead of starting from zero, and getting, real proof that gets you seen. That's the entire reason we exist or why we designed everything as we've just showed you.
Yeah, I mean, ALTURA is where builders list what they built and actually get bought. That's essentially what
Yeah.
what it is that we're at. We're telling you a storefront and a community of people doing exactly the same thing as you, people that are part of the flood that I mentioned earlier, so that you're not launching into the void. Caleb and I made that mistake ourselves. And it's a mistake everybody's making. We kind of described that in the beginning of the podcast. The kind of minds, the way you have to think about it, as opposed to how most people that are just joining the bandwagon of people vibe coding for the sake of trying to make something for themselves. It's just kind of used to be drop shipping. It's kind of ebbed and flowed as what the popular thing was, and now it's vibe coding. And the thing is that everybody's building their thing, but nobody is coming together as a spot to share with each other what it is you do and how you're going to provide specific outcomes to people. That's what we built our storefront for. It's a place where you're putting your work where buyers already show up. You don't have to worry about, you know, like Caleb said earlier, the 105 Instagram followers you have being a potential client base. Wouldn't it make more sense to just kind of take the thing you know already fits a certain subsect of people's interests and put it right in front of that certain subsect of people?
And I know what people are going to say, right? There's a million places I could already do this. I could start a school community. I could start a Discord. There's like WAP, right? If you guys are familiar with that. But like WAP, let's take that example. That's where creators of like courses and digital content creators kind of build their audience. It's more of like that type of market. We're building a space where builders, specifically like vibe coders, people interested in AI, which is actually a business point. It's not like a creator point. That's where you bring your customers, or you connect with other business owners who need tools like you have. If you're making the next video editor software, right, that's going to outdo Riverside, which is what we use, right? Like you might need somebody that has a cheaper option out there. And then that's where you find the person that built the AI editor that you would otherwise have to spend 2 weeks paying additional money because you didn't have a better option. And this is where you connect with people that have tools that actually might make your life easier and put you on a faster track. Or they might need what you've built. So you guys are helping each other. And that audience of people interested in AI and AI tools becomes the customers, our initial customers for each other. And that's why we're different from just like one of those creator economy groups. And it's free to join, guys. You don't need to have it all figured out. I don't even have it figured out. I'm out here distributing, right? And if you build something or you're about to, just come get in the room where distribution is already starting to live here. And that's the whole point. It's just, again, like I said, stop building on an empty street.
Yep. So in order to do that, all you have to do is go to alturasociety.com. That's ALTURA society.com. Join for free and list the thing you've been sitting on. There's the worst that can happen is not any worse than what you already got going on right now where nobody sees it. Building was the easy part for you guys. Let's do the part that actually gets you paid though, which is you need people to be able to see it. So once again, alturasociety.com. It's free to join.
And that's the episode, guys. If this reframed anything for you, even just a little bit of your mindset, even in that subconscious, because I know it did, and you guys just don't want to admit it if that's you, send this to just one person that you know that's been heads down for 6 months, wondering why nobody loves the genius product they created, even though they've never made a single YouTube video about it. They need to hear that, I think, from you more than anybody else, because that could be you too as well. And if that is, then we got the place for you.
Do yourself a favor, try to build a little bit less, save yourself some time, and get seen more. And you'll see a lot more results that way. And you can ask how we know, and that's because we're doing it ourselves right now. So we're giving you the option to do it, another space to do it. We'd love to see you in the community. And I mean, we're both pretty active in there ourselves anyway. So obviously, the co-founders of the whole thing. So come talk to us. Come drop what it is you're working on, and we can talk further about it in there as well.
This has been the Ascended Podcast, guys. We will see you back next week. You're going to see some clips of this. Please follow, please subscribe. And the one thing, even if you don't follow, you hate this content, at least just click on the community and check it out. There's literally nothing stopping you because there's no ask. There's no money at stake here. You can join for free and check everything out for free and then decide where you want to go from there, right? So without further ado, take care. I hope you have a great week and night. And as always, we're rooting for you.